We are live, and this is episode 25 of the Blue Crocus Experience, and we're joined today with Cameron Hogate up in the freezing land of Alaska. Everybody jokes that Canada is the land of ice and snow, but I think you've got us beat there for sure.
Most of the time.
Yeah. So Cameron and I met online through Facebook groups that we were both in. We were just talking about it. I think it was 3 or 4 months ago. We've kind of been seeing what each other are doing, hanging out with, virtual friends that we have, mutual friends, sorry. And we finally got a chance to hop on the podcast here, and we're going to chat a bit tonight about sales. So Cameron has a little bit of a different way of going about sales. A lot of people, they're going to dive right in, but maybe I'll let you talk about it, because we didn't talk about it a lot off air. We kind of got to know each other. But if you want to dive in, I'm here to learn, and I know that people are going to appreciate this on the other end of the mic, listening to it. So take it away, and I'll ask questions as a listener myself.
For sure. Sounds good. For the record, this is totally freestyling, as so we may have some mess ups here. Yep. Something about this, but I haven't. A lot of people, when they think of sales, it's all about, like, the end goal is closing, and that's what goes into their head. And even metaphors like show up and close and that sort of thing, they think get on the phone and close them. I don't really like to view it that way. And I I don't pitch people anything. And I'm super like almost antisocial with my sales. Not antisocial, but I prefer to attract versus go out and prospect, if that makes sense.
Yep.
A lot of what I do is, this probably comes from some sort of insecurity inside myself, but I want people to like me so that they buy from me. And as we all know, people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. And so all of my focus is basically based on making people know, like, and trust me. And also, when you provide enough value to someone, if someone provides value to you, eventually that sells a product, you eventually will feel guilty about how much value that they've brought to you, that you purchased from them, if nothing else, but so you feel like I need to give this person my money because they've helped me. This usually happens after you've made money off of them.
Yeah.
So when you help someone else make money, then you'll make more yourself, really, is how it works. And I noticed this has helped a lot when I dabbled a little bit in marketing for other people, which, as we discussed earlier, I've stopped doing. In some of these groups, I would write articles to talk about, like, here's how you advertise, like, here's how you write a Facebook ad. After I wrote enough of those articles and helped enough people, and people would post and be like, how do I get more work? And I'd be like, this is how you do it. People just started hitting me up and asking me to write for them. They're like, how much do you charge, and everything like that. I didn't have to sell them anything.
Yeah.
They came to me and asked if they could pay me to do it for them. And that's really, I think, the number one way to make sales, instead of just going in, and if it's contractors listening to this or whatever, instead of going into groups and being like, if you need a deck, hire me, just comment on stuff and help people and show that you know exactly what you're talking about. And you can do this very intentionally without seeming like it's intentional. Like, if someone asks for a deck builder, instead of saying, hire me, I'm the best, you can just type in, like, when you hire a deck builder, these are the 5 things they need to know, right? And if you want more information, then you can go to my website or whatever. I think that's very important that people remember, instead of just showing up and everybody focuses on their sales pitch and everything else. You need to focus more on, like, actually helping people solve any problem that they have, and even just, like, be happy for them that their problem that they had a deck built, even if it wasn't by you. And eventually enough people will see your name that your phone's just blowing up all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does. And I like how you applied that, because I was interested to see how you took that from, like, a B2B, because a lot of what I do is B2B, like business to business sales. I'm I'm dealing with people who need lead generation or web development or whatever it is. But I like how you took that to a business to consumer level, because that was kind of the question. So say you're not in Facebook groups, and say you're not, interacting with people, because there are, let's take the deck analogy. There are people in groups specifically. There's a few contractors, and then most of the rest of the people are people like you and me who are looking for a deck to be built in whatever area that we're in, right?
For sure.
Say you're not in one of those Facebook groups, and you're new to an area, and you're a deck builder, and you're looking to get customers. How could you add value to people without? How would you go about that? It's a bit of a pop question, but I'm curious to see how you might go about that.
Probably what I would do, and this is totally spitfiring, and I may change my opinion on this 5 minutes after when I think about it a little more. What I'd probably do would write exactly what I said earlier. Are you looking to have a deck built? I would write a Facebook ad, top line, not write it in an article, actually write it in the copy of the ad. Be like, if you're looking to have a deck built, here's 5 questions you should ask the contractor. And then obviously your Facebook business page name should be like Decks by Vandervalk or whatever.
Yeah.
So that it's straight to the point. And then line out, like, I don't know anything about building decks, but like, just spitballing here, like maybe like your deck post should be secured in concrete, your whatever, like Trex is better than, whatever, treated wood, or like,
sure. Yeah.
So like line out these questions that they should have answered before they even hire somebody. And after they read it, and I would make it somewhat as long as you can anyway, and just like provide an overabundance of information that to where and no sales pitches at all inside the copy. That's an area where people really mess up, I've noticed, is basically the whole thing is written to pitch them. I would just like describe your process of building a deck, and then at the very, very bottom be like, questions, you can call our office at whatever your phone number is, and then run that as a Facebook ad. Put some sort of like, I would go to Canva, which is free for the most part, and make some sort of media that says want to have a deck built, read that first and point up to your copy, and basically just run that as an ad, and you're going to get recognized for dropping value. And then you can follow that up, retarget that or whatever with more information if you need to, or retarget those those customers with an actual ad yourself, with like an actual sales ad or a direct response ad. But I would definitely lead with value and make sure a ton of people see that. Put most of your ad spend behind that, and just educate and teach, because there's a lot of people that don't know anything about construction in general, so they don't know the difference between treated wood deck and Trex deck. I don't. Yeah, and if some contractor, if I wanted a deck built and some contractor made a post about it, I'd actually probably read it, because I don't know the difference, and I like decks, so
I like it. That's a really it's a really interesting and kind of a counterintuitive way to go about it, because a lot of people, myself included, we were discussing off air kind of my journey at the beginning of coming into this space. We were actually discussing, I think, how I got blocked from a group because I was desperate, and I was basically going in for the pitch. It was like, who needs help? Who need, I'm here to help you, whatever. But I wasn't leading with value. And I think that kind of hits home with me, honestly. I may honestly come up with an ad strategy literally based on what you just told me. But I think this is useful for anybody. What kind of an ad would you run, say for Mr. Deck Builder? I kind of have an idea of what I would do. I'd probably do like an engagement ad. Is that similar to what you would do for it, or would you send it to a message, or how would you kind of set that up? Because I know for those listening, Cameron actually has decent experience with the Facebook ad world. Some of his copy actually went viral. It's talked about on the Blacktop Banter podcast, but you had one of your Facebook copies on I don't know if it was an ad or if it was just looking for work. Just refresh me here on this while we go.
It was looking for work. And I actually I Googled my name one time, and I found that it's published in like 3 magazines too, which I didn't know about, for one. So I'm a little bit offended, but also that was kind of cool.
Yeah. You definitely should call them up and be like, hey, where's my royalty on this?
Exactly, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I'm just going to finish up this thought here about kind of tooting your horn, because you won't do it yourself. But he did an ad for looking for help, and basically Mike Rowe of Dirty Jobs picked it up, and it went crazy. And you've had a couple other posts go viral. If you want to kind of dive into that, go over to Blacktop Banter and check out the episode with Marvin there. But
I'll try not to talk about it too much. I don't know. It's a little, you like, I was always taught you have 24 hours to brag, and that was definitely more than 24 hours to go. So what am I? I just need to come up with something else to make myself famous. So
there you go.
Maybe this podcast will be it.
I'm riding on your coattails here and bringing some exciting stuff, because I don't have anything exciting like that to bring. So
yeah, gotcha.
But yeah, no, definitely go check out Marvin's podcast if you guys haven't. Blacktop Banter. He's got some awesome stuff. Talks to some really cool people over there as well. But yeah, I was kind of coming around to the point of, you've written up this copy and stuff. Talk to us a bit about how you would run the ad. And I was kind of, the backstory was to lay out your background and kind of show that you know what you're up to.
For sure. As far as how I'd run the ad, I would probably run it to get messages, because even though I'm like leading with value, I'm still doing it to get work, right?
Yeah.
And people are going to ask questions in the comments, or they're going to say something to you. And I think if you make it super easy to get messages, like by having like the get message button on it, you're probably going to get work from it right off the bat. If nothing else, you're going to start conversations with people. And I think that's very important, to be able to make it easy to engage, or to talk. Then again, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know. I've not actually ran an ad like that in years. So because I've not really needed to. So now that I'm thinking more about it, I don't know what I'd do. Maybe a link back to my website if I had one. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Messenger ads are a favorite of mine, because you can engage with them, and you can kind of sort out different people too. You can kind of sort out the tire kickers before you head out to give a quote or what have you. No, that's really interesting. I
promise you know more about market, like Facebook ads, than I do. I thought I knew a lot until I started doing it for other people, and then I realized how little I actually know. So I think I've just been lucky.
The real thing is, I know who to ask. I'm still learning. I'll be straight up with whoever is listening. I'm still learning. I'm always willing to ask for help where I need. If I say I'm going to provide value, I'm going to provide value, even if I have to spend more because I'm not running good Facebook ads, right?
Yeah.
If I have to spend more of my own money. So I'll figure it out and I'll learn as I go. But everyone has a different perspective, and everyone has a different way of learning, and different things that have worked in different, and each industry is different. Like, people that need decks built are different than people that need their driveways paved, right? Like,
correct.
They might be the same person, but they also might kind of have a different way of looking at things, or different language that they speak. So, cool. So we kind of got a bit off track, but kind of stayed on the same track to kind of talk about the sales process. So you're leading with value, which is something that I've just been learning to do. But maybe dive into that a bit more, and carry that on, once you've led with value, and how that process looks.
Yeah. So hypothetically speaking, somebody messages you off your ad that explains how to build a deck, and a couple psychology things is like, my phone's blowing up. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
I'm trying to get rid of my notifications.
All good.
I would make the client feel like they're important is huge. And the biggest thing is, like, you need to be the one asking questions, and just like stop talking, and like say as little as possible. So like, and I mean, we're kind of cover the whole process here. Like, I would start off with them being like obviously they're going to ask you like, oh, when can you come for a quote? Instead of saying I'm free Tuesday at 3, say what time works for you, and I will fit that into my schedule. One, that makes you sound like you're more busy than you are, which is like a form of social proof bias, if you will. And 2, it makes them feel important because you're putting them ahead of something else on your schedule. So they say, so, I'm coming out to give you a bid on your deck, and you say, okay, well, I'm available Thursday at 6 o'clock at night. You're like, sounds good. I'll be there. Show up on time. Obviously that's important. Show up at all is also very important. And you need to dress for the occasion. And I think this is a way, like your image that you portray of yourself is very important. You don't have to wear a suit to go bid a deck, but you also should not look like, you've been digging holes in the mud all day either. I usually try to keep a clean pair of clothes in my truck with me, so when I go do bids, I can just change out. I have like at least clean jeans and a clean shirt, and you're presenting to the client that you actually care and you're clean and everything else. And same thing with how you talk, like we're not cussing or anything like that. And then just like ask them what made them reach out, ask them what it is that they want about a deck, and don't ask them questions that are loaded with more questions like, oh, what type of deck do you want? Do you want a covered deck? Do you want do you want it wider? Do you want room for your barbecue? Just ask them what type of deck they want and let them answer the question. And however long that takes, it may take 30 seconds or it may take 5 minutes, but just keep asking them questions and getting more information. And eventually people love talking about themselves, and people love talking in general. And when you let them just like talk, it doesn't even have to be about the deck. Most of the time it's not. Eventually they're just going to like you because you listen to them, and you're the only person all day that's listened to them. Like their husband doesn't listen to them, their wife doesn't listen to them, their kids don't listen to them, their boss doesn't listen to them, no one does. So when you're the only person that listens, people will just fall in love with their conversation with you, and then you have the sale. Like they don't even talk to anyone else because you did exactly what you said you were going to do, and you listened. And that's really all there is to it. And you already showed, like they already have in their head that you provide value from the ad that they saw. And it's this whole process leading up to it. People think about the close, whereas like close isn't what it's about. It's about everything leading up to it, to where the person trusts you and the person even likes you to begin with. Did that answer your question?
No, I love that. That's a really good thing. So for contractors, dressing to impress, that's something that kind of jumped out at me. It's hard sometimes to go from job to job and fit in bids, especially if you're still a 1 or 2 man show. You don't have a dedicated sales team. I think that's important though. First impressions, my dad always said it. I didn't love it at the time, but as I've gotten older and kind of hopefully a little bit wiser, I've certainly seen more things. The way people present themselves on their first interaction with you, it sticks with you for a while, and it takes a lot of interactions and a lot of back and forth and seeing people in different situations to change that first impression. So
correct.
I think that's really important. The second thing that jumped out at me, which I've been learning, is just let people talk. One of my mentors said on a call just last week is like, the more you can let people talk, exactly what you said, the more you can let people talk, the more they basically sell themselves on. There's some subliminal psychological thing going on that because they're being vulnerable, they're basically selling themselves on the whole process.
Correct.
Obviously some people are going to talk forever, so you do have to rein it in if you're on a call or whatever.
Yeah, like if you just kept asking me questions, this podcast would be 5 hours long, and I love you because I'm talking about myself the whole time. Yeah,
exactly. But no, I think dressing to impress, showing up on time is important. Personally, I really try and do that. Kind of hate it when people waste my time, and so I've seen different schools of thought. So like, really people that are really busy and stuff, often they're the most punctual because they value their time so much that they want to value your time. And it kind of it sends a message again if you're not showing up on time. First of all, if you're not going to show up on time, let them know. Send them a text or give them a call and say, hey, look, I'm going to be like 30 minutes late. I had something run run late with a customer, I'm trying to take care of them, or whatever it is. At least communicate that. I think that's important.
And most people understand that too, because they understand that you're a self-employed contractor or whatever. Like, you know, if you're like, hey, yeah, basically what you just said, it's like, that's important. Just it's the communication itself that works. It's not, you know, so much always just, you know, yeah, we're on the same page.
I love it. So,
and even like when I say, and like for the dressing thing, like the only reason I bring that up, and it's not something I necessarily would have thought of, except for a lot of these big scale bids in the asphalt world, you'll have like 6 people there, right? And like I went to one and there was 5 other seal coat contractors there. And I was actually just talking to another guy about this. I was in a button-up shirt, not fancy button-up shirt, just like a normal like button-up shirt and somewhat clean pants. Oh my gosh, I think I just lost you. Did I?
Nope,
Am I still here?
There.
Okay.
Video cut out for a second, but we're good.
Yeah, I tried to put my phone on do not disturb, but obviously it doesn't actually do not disturb when the phone's open. So sorry.
Gotcha. Oh no, it's all good, man. I can't hear anything coming through. So as distracting as it is for you, none of us can see what's going on.
All right, good. Okay. So anyway, so I showed up to this bid, and there's literally seal coaters, which are notoriously poor dressed. One of them was in sweatpants that were covered in seal coat, shoes that were covered in seal coat, a T-shirt that I'm pretty sure he's been wearing since the 90s, and just like messed up hair, like looked like he just got out of bed, and then went and sprayed a parking lot, and then went to this bid, and like I'm like, this is my competition, and that was my first thought of him. And in my head, it doesn't matter how good of a seal coater he is; he's probably just as good as me or better. But in my head, and you know, obviously I'm competition. I was like, this guy is inferior to me on a quality of level standpoint because I was clean and he wasn't.
Yeah.
And I understand the industry, and a lot of people don't understand how dirty it is. So anyway, I think it's important, very important. Just the first impression thing, and you know, throw out your cigarette before you actually pull up to the job and things like that.
Yeah, because I mean, as much as you know, some people might like to fight it. The way that you take care of yourself and show up, you know, that speaks volumes to people about how you're going to take care of their job, even if you're going to do it absolutely fantastic in the sweatpants, like which you probably are. You're probably going to get into like probably some pretty old ratty pants to do it because
correct.
You know, it's a dirty job. It ruins your clothes, right? But the customer wants to see that you care about yourself, so that you're going to care about their job. No, absolutely.
Exactly.
So let's say, I know, you know, it seems like you're knocking it out of the park on those, that sort of a sales call, but what happens if, you know, you put in a bid? What's your follow-up process for the sales cycle? Because I've talked to a couple of people here. One guy who had bid a pretty big contracting job. I think it was a house build or a house expansion. Mm-hmm. He followed up via email, text, phone calls for 18 months before landing the job.
Wow, that's impressive.
And he got the job because he stayed. Yeah. And it wasn't like his process was very much like I think it was like every month, 3 months, and he kind of spaced it out, so he kind of just kept him in their mind. But what sort of a follow-up procedure do you use or know that other people use that's worked well?
I think texting is very important. I know a lot of contractors hate it because they feel like it's not professional, but in the world we live in today, everyone texts. I really like doing that. Plus, it takes very little of my time, and you can have these like pre-written texts that, you know, especially on iPhones, you can just like hold down a button and it pops up whatever you want. Normally, I'd say like I would submit the bid, which is in the email platform. Usually, sometimes we have text capabilities with the software that we use, but usually it's sent by email because it seems more professional to me. I would then text them and be like, hey, just so you know, like immediately after I send the quote, I'd be like, hey, just so you know, we sent that quote over. If you have any questions, let us know. The normal, like that sort of thing. Wait like 7 days or so.
How many days? Software, you cut out there for 1 second.
7 days.
7, perfect.
Yep. And my software has an automatic follow-up email that says, basically, it's, you know, I wrote it, and basically it says like, hey, we're just following up with you. If you have any questions, let us know. Just kind of like, almost like the first round of follow-up isn't so much about like, they're not ignoring you. Most of the time people just get busy.
Yep.
And I think that's important to remember, is like, they may choose to use you, but they forgot that you even sent them a quote because something else came up, or they haven't realized that it's been a week since you talked to them or whatever. And maybe they were going to choose you, but then they just like forgot to call and schedule you. I do that all the time. And anyway, so like, we've had an electrician that I've needed to get to my house for the last, literally, I kid you not, 3 months. And I just haven't called him. Whereas I guarantee if he texted me or called me today, I would be like, yes, come over whenever fits your schedule. Here's the keys to my house.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and I'm just busy. So it is what it is. And everyone's like that, I think. And America in general is a very busy world that we live in. So the first round of follow-ups, like, super non-invasive at all. If they don't respond at all, or if they say I need to talk to my husband or whatever, whatever their response is, I'd wait another 2 weeks probably, and then send a text that I write personally, like not an auto response text. Just be like, hey, it's been a few weeks. I don't know if you had any questions. We would love to answer any questions that you have. If you'd like to see pictures of our work, let us know, and I'd be happy to send some pictures over. If there's any other, like, and like obviously in the asphalt world, like we have SDS sheets, like safety data sheets.
Yeah.
If you need to see the SDS sheets, we'd be happy to provide those, or whatever. Something along those lines, something to where, and then try to ask them a question instead of starting your conversation being like, hey, I hope you had a great week. I might say something like, now I'm freezing.
Oh, it's all good.
Sorry. I might say something like, this is going to sound super personal. I don't think this would work for everyone, but I might be like, what's something good that happened in your week?
Yep. Just to kind of switch their mind onto what you're doing.
Almost to like, let them know that like you're talking to a real person, which they already know. And also like, I actually care about you.
Yeah.
And most of the time they already know this because my social media presence is like astronomical. That's where like a massive amount of my budget, I spend like mid 5 figures on ads just to stay in front of people.
Wow.
Every year. And which is pointless. I don't recommend that to everyone, or to anyone really, unless you're way bigger than I am. And it's a waste of money, but I like it because everyone knows who I am. Everyone knows Cameron, which is annoying also, but like it's just kind of worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah.
And then if they don't hit me, if I don't like close them after like a couple weeks, then I honestly like stop following up, because I've never had a job that was that important, except for one. This year I followed up with them for 12 months, and they ended up not going with me because coronavirus, and then I kind of gave up because it was like not worth my time in a sense, because I was like, I can put this much effort into something else and generate this amount of revenue.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as in like this isn't worth my time. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no, I mean, at a certain point, you have to make the call. But I do see a general trend with the contractors that I've worked with, and when I used to work in the contracting world, because I don't think I mentioned this before, but I was in concrete and framing, like house framing.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I worked in that for 4 years before I went back to school. And people, first of all, contractors are really busy, so it is hard to do follow-up. But their really only method of follow-up is to undercut the bid that they already gave. It's like, oh,
correct.
Well, they haven't bought, so let's chop 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever, in relation to the job. But follow-up is so important for any industry, and especially if you can be the one contractor in your area that follows up in a meaningful way. I think that's going to make all the difference for your business. I've seen people who have started doing that, and they've started having way better conversion on leads that they get from whatever avenue that they're getting them from.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's gold.
And
that's awesome stuff. Yeah, go ahead. I keep interrupting you.
Oh no, and I keep I just like try to make it as personal as you can, in a sense, like not like don't be like, oh, I had a hard day today. Do you want to hear about it? Like not that type of personal, but like I don't know. When I'm out doing the bid, when you're getting them to talk, they'll tell you things about their life, right? Like about their new boat, and then you can be like, hey, have you had a chance to take your boat out yet? I mean, and then never mind. I was going to talk about using like memes and emojis, but that's way too complicated for this. That's like science. So that's for another episode. We'll do that another time.
It is. The meme game is challenging. I'm not much of a memer myself, and I was talking to another guy who's like killing it. He's actually a glass artist, and shout out to David if he's listening. But
oh yeah, David.
He also kind of works in the space that I work as well, but he kills it with his memes. He makes his own memes relative to like this super niche part of the glass, industry.
Yeah.
And he gets so much business off it. But yeah, we definitely need to have an episode on that for sure.
I think that would be a game changer if you could do an episode on that, because I've sent memes to people that are like, it's like when the client doesn't buy from you when you want them to, and it's like, them like crying or whatever. And like it, like most of the time it makes people absolutely just like die laughing and they hire you. Yeah. And like, but also like I've had people be mad about it too. So like we'll let an expert take that subject.
Yeah. No. Okay. We'll have to have a meme episode.
A meme episode. Perfect. Oh, yeah.
But one question that jumped out at me was you were talking about the software that you use, and I know a lot of people, CRMs or customer relationship management softwares, that's something that people may not have heard of. What did you use that obviously, hopefully you liked it or would recommend it?
Yes, I used getjobber.com, and I was absolutely blown away when I found it. A lot of people use Joist, and it basically, what I was looking for was estimation and invoicing software.
Yep.
Jobber has CRM, calendar, like everything you could possibly ever need for a software to run a business, it has. And especially when you can learn how to utilize it, like it's absolutely amazing. Like automatic follow-ups, like it texts me and reminds me to follow up on X quote after 3 days or whatever. And you can make it to where it automatically follows up with them. And just like, it was like, it has apps. It has apps for my employees to where I can email them like their work for the next day, as long as I remember to schedule it. And that sort of thing. And, so they can pull up the app, or they can pull up the app and see their work. They can open their email and it sees the work that they need to do the next day. Addresses, any information that I enter. It is absolutely an amazing software. It's a little bit expensive, and their credit card processing fees are on the high side. What are you're paying like, so it's based on which level of program that you have. There's 3 tiers. One's like basic, intermediate, and expert, basically the 3 levels. The basic is like, I want to say like $50 a month. And your credit card processing fees are like 3.5% or some astronomical number like that. The intermediate is pretty much what I always used, and that allowed you to use it, as well as I think it was like 5 employees to have the apps. And that I was paying like maybe 2.8%. And then the expert, which
I'm using Stripe, and I'm paying like 5% for their cut and the visa processing. Yeah.
Holy Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
You seriously?
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like a lot, but that's not. I mean, PayPal's the same. PayPal's like 5% by the time they have the visa processing and the
dang.
PayPal's cut. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So just
maybe you should switch to yeah. No,
yeah.
I always felt like I was getting taken advantage of, but no, that makes it seem a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then So I don't know. Obviously, it wasn't that bad. So
yeah, it's not the same as an e-transfer being paid in cash, but
yeah,
I think the flip side is, and this is what I've worked through, is the convenience. You're able to I'm able to auto bill customers. There's all this convenience and professionalism that comes with it that will allow you to get more business.
And people want to pay with credit cards. I know a lot of seal coaters that only accept cash or check, and I honestly think that they would be more successful if they accepted credit cards. I don't remember the last time I got paid with a check.
I don't have the cash to pay for seal coating if that was
correct.
to be done on my driveway. Like, I don't have that, necessarily. And I know most people are the same way, right?
Yeah. And literally, like, if the electrician comes out and fixes whatever's going on with my outlet and he sends me an invoice at 9 o'clock at night and I'm sitting on my couch, like, I'm going to reach over to the nightstand, grab my wallet, pull out my credit card, pay it. And when, he like texts it to me, I pay it, it's paid, as opposed to, like, I know people that are still mailing their invoices. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I think the only thing you should be using mail for is sending thank you cards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So we've kind of riffed here for a while. I don't know how much time you have. The last thing I wanted to touch on quickly is social media presence, because you talked about your paid social media presence, but you also have some skills in organic social media presence as far as, like, from a business. So if you don't have a business page set up, if you're listening, get a business page set up. I think you're going to say the same thing, but talk to us a bit about how to optimize that as a contractor.
Number one, make your page very clean. My business, like, a lot of people, like, their cover photo on their business page will be like their business logo. I never do that. And this works for me because, like, obviously our pictures are, for seal coating anyway, have always been, a picture of the outside of a house. So it's like, there's a lot of colors involved. This is going to vary a little bit depending on your industry, but, like, I'll just use myself as an example. My picture was a parking lot that we had seal coated. It was nice and black, lots of contrast, like, blue skies, green grass, all that jazz, in the picture. And it's like, it's very inviting. And especially if you use blues and greens in your cover photo, however you can make that work, those are like warm colors. And it's like why Facebook uses blue and white, because it's inviting. And then, excuse me, your profile picture probably can be your logo or whatever you want. I've never really focused too much on that. And then just have posts that you make regularly. I try to keep my page clean. If I change my cover photo, I hide it from my timeline. Just because that way, if someone logs on, they're only seeing my posts. They're not seeing, I updated my website, I updated my phone number and all that jazz. That shows up a lot. It's just kind of makes a lot of noise on your page that's irrelevant and people don't want to see it anyway.
Yeah.
I'm
guilty of that.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't know, it's pretty easy to clean it up and just kind of keep it nice. And I forget sometimes too, like, I don't know, I don't really think about it that often until I'm browsing my own page. And then I don't know, just like even if you don't want to even if you don't want to put too much information on your page, or you don't want to post all the time, that's fine. But write like 2 or 3 posts that are somewhat informative or like easy to read or something like that. And just have them on there that they can stay up there all the time. Spell your words correctly. Use like really high quality pictures. All the pictures I have are taken with my phone, but I like bump up the contrast a little bit or whatever, to where they're like a nice picture. They're not blurry or anything like that. And just try to make it like as clean as you can would be my advice, to where when somebody's on there, it's easy to read.
I love it. No, that's some good advice. I think it was on Marvin's show that you were talking about taking pictures. Like, I second this as a consumer and as someone who works with contractors. Like, definitely take the time to get a good picture. Take 50, take 10, take 20. Like, get a good picture. No picture is better than a blurry picture of what it is that you're doing, because and I'm going to go back to the colors as well that you mentioned. Not only does it make it inviting and warm and all those fuzzy things, but it gets people to a place where they're like, oh, I want my house to look like that, or I want my deck to look like that. And so the better you can make it look, it's not just a construction site with stuff strewn everywhere. It's like finished product. You know, we get the deck is done, but you haven't cleaned up the sawdust, the saws, the cords are everywhere. Same with, seal coating or paving or whatever it is. Get a finished product, it's not that hard. You're cleaning up before you leave a customer's job. If it's night when you clean up, come back the next day or whatever. It's not terribly hard. And I know you've said this a lot before too, but easy things you can do.
People to tell them to take better pictures all the time. And even like I, to the point where like people on some of these groups will like they'll text me and be like, how's this picture look? And I'm like, it looks like terrible, dude. Like retake that. Like I can't even fix that.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, and it's just super important because it adds presence in general has to be like you've seen my personal Facebook page.
Yeah.
Like I only share things that I try to make people laugh, right? And I try to share things that make people laugh. And it works for me because I get like a lot of engagement and not everything I share is funny, and I don't have like a meme page, but like I post like every 4 days, and it's just like what I post is not exhausting to read. It's not hard to read. And it's like,
it's pretty funny.
It's just kind of
pretty funny.
I try to it's just, I don't know. I try to be like fighting with what I do, even on my personal page and my business page. And they're totally separate. Like don't post memes about frying chicken on your business page like I did yesterday.
Unless you've gotten to the next level. One thing I will say too is don't post political posts. Like if your personal page is linked to your business page, be really, really careful about what people can see if they're your friends even, or if they're not your friends. Like, people use this as a bulletin board to post up all their latest thoughts on the political environment. But no matter which way you swing, I don't care. Like, don't post political stuff. Post stuff about your business.
Yes, that's very important. And I've seen a few people do it, and I'm just like, oh my God. And we won't even get down that rabbit hole.
Well, I'm going to, because I've seen, people, I sometimes won't even work with someone if I see that, because I know that they're like, it's just not a good image to have for your potential clients. It says a lot about yourself, if you feel the need to vent, that's great. but if, as far as I'm concerned, and as a consumer and someone who works with businesses, it's definitely a turn off.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you agree with them, it's still a turn off, because it's like, I don't know. I just don't really care that much, I guess. Maybe that's part of my problem. And then I get mad when people do. I don't know. I don't really think that's it. But and you can make posts like in today's day and age, like the mask debate, right? Like you can be like, if you're working inside someone's house, make a post and be like, if you would like us to wear a mask when we're on your property, we will gladly do that. And leave it at that. Don't make it like, normally we don't wear masks, but if you make us, then we will do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like make it to where like, because I think that's respectful. Like if someone asked me to wear a mask at their house, I would. And like, I don't feel like I'm oppressed. Like,
ultimately it comes down to like, if they're asking you not to smoke in their house, right? Like it's the same thing. If you want the job, like, come on guys, like do the work to get the job. I agree. I think it speaks a lot to, other issues and personal flaws. If I can go that far, I have them myself, and they manifest. But you spewing everything all over Facebook about how much you hate conforming and stuff, I think after a while, like, and I'm not even talking about my views on the subject, like, and I'm not going to. But regardless of which side of the fence you're on, like if your customers want it, or if it makes them more comfortable, then it works in your favor to do that.
Literally, it does. Yeah.
So a little bit of a tangent there. No, I think that's good though, with the making sure your page is clean. I think I've definitely published the cover photos and the things, so I'll go take a look at mine and clean that up a bit. But this has been Yeah,
on
go
that
ahead.
note, if you do publish a cover photo, put a caption on it
Sure. So
to
it's
make
not
it
just
to
a
where it's an actual
picture.
post.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be like a big thing is Facebook tracks engagement, right?
Yeah.
And my wife gets so mad at me for this. When I post something on my personal page, if it doesn't get very good engagement, I take it down within the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because the more you post and don't get engagement, the less your posts get shown and the less engagement they get.
Yeah.
Same thing with your business page, way more on the business scale, unless this has changed recently. The more engagement you have, the more you're going to get, because Facebook recognizes brands that post quality, engaging content that people like, and they show it to more people as opposed to poor content.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, if something doesn't get traction right off the bat, then I take it down and either repost it later, change it, something about it. And that keeps all of my rankings super high, because all of my content has quality engagement.
Definitely something I could work on.
Anyway.
I used to do that with a previous, side hustle on Instagram. I would definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
I did find it takes a lot of mental space for me to do that. For me, honestly, like it consumed my mental space, and I know that I need to spend that on other things. But you're absolutely right. Like what you're saying is absolutely right. That Facebook is watching, and they're going to show things that people like to see, right? So if people aren't liking what you're posting, it's gonna learn that, and it's gonna show it to less people.
Yeah.
Cool. Good stuff. Well, we've covered a range of topics here, which I really appreciate you hopping on here and divesting some of your knowledge. I don't know if there's anything you want to wrap up for. I usually ask people, what's one thing you would say to people who are starting out or people who are kind of feeling that the grind is getting to them. I know you've been through the grind phase, and maybe you can drop some value. I didn't prime you on this either, so this is off the cuff.
Number one thing is as my shirt says, nobody cares, work harder.
I love it. Except for Facebook. Facebook cares. So take it down. And
Facebook does care, but you should work harder on Facebook.
I like it. That's awesome, man.
But yeah.
Well, Cameron, this has been awesome. I've definitely learned some things. Unless you have something to wrap up, we can.
It's good. No, I appreciate you having me on.
Perfect. Good stuff. We'll
have to do it again in like 60 days when I can actually talk about stuff.
100%. Yeah. Cameron has some big things in the works, so we'll be chatting about those for sure. Good stuff. Well, I hope everyone has enjoyed this. I'm going to end the recording here, and we'll wrap up here off air. And really appreciate it, Cameron. It's been awesome.
Thank you.